Hello again.
I take it Sir still does not wish for me to take Sir's coat.
No.
Very good, sir. Please feel free to continue to damage the priceless hardwood floor.
What can you tell me about the Count?
I regret to inform, sir, that the Count's health has been in gradual decline and that he will probably not live to see the new year.
That's 5 months away.
Sir's grasp of mathematics dazzles me, sir.
What's the problem?
Merely that, unlike Sir, I have not been blessed with a truly dizzying intellect.
With the Count, I mean.
The Count's health has been failing for some years now, but I believe he has never been so bad as since the loss of his one companion.
His companion? Who's that?
I fear that my idle tongue has already revealed too much of the Count's private affairs, and I would ask that Sir respect the Count's privacy, lest I be forced to provide Sir with a thick ear.
So what do you make of Carlotta, then?
Sir?
Carlotta von Uberwald. She does live here, doesn't she?
Indeed, sir. Sir is as dogged in his pursuit of the truth as he is determined to warp
You're not going to give up on this hardwood floor thing, are you?
As ever, Sir is both astute and incredibly stubborn.
What about Carlotta?
She is also quite astute and most definitely stubborn.
What do you think about her, then?
I am not paid to form opinions, sir, merely to perform menial actions such as guarding the hardwood floor, a task I am, alas, failing in at the current time.
Will you shut up about the hardwood floor?
As Sir wishes. I will no longer mention how Sir is irrevocably damaging timber felled by the hand boards.
I'd like...
Many people wish to see Carlotta. Let us see if you are blessed by her wishing to see you.
Back for more, Luton?
What can I say? I can't get enough of you. Do you know anything about the Count's missing companion?
Perhaps that's something you should discuss with him.
Ah, Mr. Luton, how may I help you now?
Just a few questions. Your interest in the Mundy case wouldn't have something to do with your missing companion, would it?
Why, Mr. Luton, I'm impressed. You actually do have some detective skills.
What's the deal?
He was my friend. Perhaps my last friend. He was a dwarf of simple tastes, and when I was younger, he drove my carriage for me. These days, given that I am confined to the conservatory, I have no need for a driver, but I kept Ragin on the payroll so that I should have someone to talk to.
When did he go missing?
3 days ago. He took the carriage out that night and has not been seen since.
And you thought Carlotta might have employed me to look for him?
I was hoping, yes.
You could always employ me to find him.
Wouldn't that be a conflict of interests?
I don't see why. Anyway, there isn't a conflict of interest that I know about that couldn't be solved with a generous cash settlement.
Be assured that if you can find Ragin, I can offer you substantial recompense.
Then I'll see what I can do. The Count gave me an iconograph of Ragin to help my investigations. My mind was already racing. 3 days ago, the Milka arrives. 3 days ago, Ragin disappears. Now, I believe in coincidences. Coincidences happen every day. But I don't trust coincidences. Something deeper was going on here, and I was going to find out what. Because I can't stand a secret, and because I have a burning need to find the truth. But mostly because there was a wad of money in it for me if I found out. I'll be back later.
I look forward to it.
I couldn't think of... Hello again.
I take it, sir, still...
No.
Very good.
Tell me about Ragin.
Sir?
Ragin, the Count's companion.
Sir seems to have mistaken me for someone who wishes to help him in his inquiries.
Listen, you work for the Count, and I'm trying to find Ragin for the Count.
Indeed, sir. But sir has already learnt everything that the Count was prepared to tell him about Mr. Ragin, and hence I fear I have nothing to offer him, even should I be threatened with being disemboweled by a crazed rhinoceros.
I'd like to see Carlotta.
Many people wish to see Carlotta. Let us see if you are blessed by her wishing to see you.
Back for more, Luton?
What can I say? I can't get enough of you. Did you know Ragin well?
Ragin? The Count's driver, you mean? I wouldn't say I knew him well, but I knew him. He was always hanging around the mansion.
What can you tell me about him?
I never trusted him. I always thought he was after the Count's money.
As opposed to you, who had purely altruistic reasons for marrying into wealth.
I was young and I was poor. Besides, I made Ulrich happy.
See you around, Carlotta.
Sure, Luton. I look forward to it.
I've got a few more questions.
That's lucky.
Do you recognize the dwarf in this iconograph?
It's faintly familiar, but no, I can't place it.
Still here?
Not for much longer, I hope.
I showed Ragin's picture to the first mate, and he recognized it.
Yes, I think that was the dwarf who pulled up in a carriage shortly after we docked. I think he collected some of the cargo, too.
Do you remember which way he went?
He drove away upwards at high speed. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd caused an accident somewhere down the line.
Well, safe voyage, if that's possible. Hello again. Hello. Did anyone report a speeding carriage 3 days ago?
Funny you should ask that. Sergeant Colon was almost run down by a carriage 3 days ago. He's been going on about it ever since. Says we ought to have speed limits for carriages.
How would you tell what speed a carriage was going?
Well, a watchman's instincts are never wrong.
You could always go for a more preventative approach.
Like what?
Well, you could ban carriages altogether.
Yeah, that'd work.
Hey, you could go one step further. You could ban people from Ankh-Morpork, and then there'd be no crime at all.
Well, there'd still be the trolls and the dwarfs, and the gargoyles, and the gnomes, and the undead and the golems. Of course, the golems don't make much crime, and the gargoyles' only crime is Avicide. And it's not like we're short of pigeons. But the trolls and the dwarfs, well, I mean, they make as much crime as any of the humans, maybe even more.
It's no fun when it's this easy. Like shooting fish at a barrel.
Hey?
Never mind. About this carriage the other night. Where did Colon see it?
I think he said it was headed for the Magdalen Bridge.
It wasn't much of a lead, but at least it was something. Usually you could only get a lead out of Nobby with a scalpel. I'm looking for a dwarf named Ragin. He's been missing.
Missing? What kind of missing? Missing for a few hours? Missing person? Missing in the shades? Help me out here, will you?
Missing person, I guess.
How long's he been missing?
3 days.
3 days? You've got to be kidding. That barely counts as a hangover in Ankh-Morpork, let alone a missing person case.
How long would he have to be missing then?
I'd say at least 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Of course, it'd depend on who he was. If the patrician went missing for 3 hours, it'd warrant an investigation.
Justice for some, eh? Catch you later, Nobby. The Magdalen Bridge was one of 10 bridges that linked the city of Ankh to the city of Morpork. It was an unremarkable structure, most famous for the number of suicides it attracted. The trouble with trying to drown yourself in the Ankh is that you're more likely to break a leg falling onto the thick crust of the river than actually come near any water. Still, if you were heavy enough, you could eventually sink into the depths. I can think of nicer ways to go, though, and much quicker ones, too. Something had clearly lost control on the bridge. Something with wheels. Beyond that, it was difficult to say. Some fabric had caught on the railings of the bridge. The River Ankh. Probably the only river in the universe on which you could chalk the outline of a corpse. Oh, I'm back. Have you seen Sapphire?
She's not here. She went off to see someone.
Who?
Who do I look like? A keeper?
I gave Mencken Mundy's description and asked if he'd seen him. He told me that he hadn't, but I was convinced he was lying. The matchbook had to belong to Mundy, and I was sure he was hiding here. So you don't know Mundy?
I've already told you that I don't.
And this matchbook means nothing to you?
Do you practice to become this irritating?
Well, I'm confused. You see, this is Mundy's handwriting on the matchbook, and this is your address he wrote. Shall I tell you what I think?
I don't think I have that much choice.
I think Mundy is here, but he told you not to tell anyone that he's here.
You're just making it up as you go along.
Well, I could always go and fetch the watch. I heard they were looking for Mundy too, and if he's not here, you wouldn't have to worry about being charged with hiding a known fugitive. They can get so impatient.
Mundy's not a fugitive.
How would you know? You little...
All right, you win. He's upstairs, but don't tell him I told you.
I wouldn't dream of ruining your reputation in high society. Until later, Mencken. I'd gone to a lot of trouble to find Mundy, and now the goal was in reach. It seemed like an anticlimax. I couldn't quite see what Mundy was doing when I entered his room, and seconds later I couldn't see anything at all. The last thing I saw as I passed out of consciousness was the floor rushing up to meet me. By the time I came around, the watch had arrived. I must have been unconscious for hours, maybe days. I thought no one could feel as bad as I did, until I saw Mundy. His feet were bound and his eyes had been gouged out. Either he'd died of massive blood loss, or he'd spilt an awful lot of red wine. It wasn't going to be a good day, I decided.
Going somewhere, Luton? You don't leave until we've finished with you.
You know where my office is. If you want an interview, you can find me there.
I consider you to be the prime suspect in this investigation.
You've got to be kidding.
I've never been more serious.
Never?
What do you want with me? I was unconscious throughout the whole incident.
We only have your word for that. You could have killed Mundy and then knocked yourself unconscious.
With what?
Your wedding. You're pretty serious then.
What?
Yes, Nobby. Now shut up.
Will you explain what you think I did?
You came in, mutilated Mundy, and then knocked yourself unconscious.
Is that all?
There's your promotion, too. You were really serious then.
Nobby, you've made your point, thank you. Shut up.
How did I knock myself unconscious?
I don't know yet. But you're not a complete fool, Luton. You'd have found a way.
Do you have any evidence against me, or is this just part of your ongoing campaign of victimization?
It's just, you're always kind of serious.
You were present at the time of the murder. Your rope was used in the murder.
My rope? The murderer steals from me, and suddenly I'm guilty of murder?
It's not a bad thing. I mean, you're the commander of the watch, and that's a serious job.
Then there's the victim's message.
Azil? How does that incriminate me?
It ends in L.E. He could have been trying to write Luton. He could have died before he could finish.
He could have been trying to write lemon! And what is Azzy supposed to mean?
I was only trying to help.
For all we know, Azzy might mean it was in Mundy's own language.
For all we know, Azil might mean, help, someone has gouged my eyes out. You're just guessing. There must be other suspects.
The landlord says no one went upstairs after you.
It could be the landlord for all you know.
Mencken? He's not the type. Anyway, he reported the incident to us.
Listen, you've got nothing on me, and unless you're going to arrest me, I'm going to leave.
I'm keeping an eye on you, Luton. Consider yourself a suspect for all the counterweight killings. If you're in any way involved, I'll find out. Don't leave town, Luton.
He's really got it in for me, hasn't he?
He's not a bad person, Luton. He's just a bit...
Psychotic? Obsessed? Judgmental?
I was going to say overworked, but I've changed my mind.
What's this about counterweight killings?
Well, and this is in the strictest confidence,
I won't tell anyone who doesn't talk to me.
the murders have all been a bit, well, odd, redualistic.
What? They are involved with a revival of philosophical principles concerning the division of reality into two independent forces, mind and matter?
No. Redualistic. Like what cults do. Reduals.
Ritualistic. I see. Like someone was trying to make a point.
Yeah. One of the patrician's clerks was killed the other day. Very suspicious.
Why the counterweight killings?
I'd better not discuss that. Gotta go. See you later, Luton.
A lot later will do. Mundy's corpse wasn't very attractive. I wasn't looking forward to telling Carlotta how Mundy died. There was nothing on Mundy's body worth taking. If I had an iconograph, I could have taken a picture of the message. But I didn't have one, and even if I did, there didn't seem much point. I didn't want to become too reliant on technology. Someone, either the killer or Mundy, had written Azil on the wall in blood. Mundy's blood, presumably. I had no idea what it meant. It seemed to be a cheap copy of Spinner's Rain, Cream and Speed. I could tell it was art, because I couldn't make out what it was supposed to be. I couldn't think of a good reason to steal the painting, even though it would have looked great on my office wall. Mundy's killer had tied his legs together with my rope. It was bad enough that he stole my rope, without implicating me in a gruesome murder at the same time. How does it feel to be a suspect, Mankin?
What?
You're an obvious choice of suspect because you called the watch. You were the first on the scene. Round here, that means it's practically a closed case.
I don't see why. You were there when I got there.
I was unconscious.
Well, I heard a commotion. That's what made me check it out in the first place. Maybe Mundy managed to knock you out before he died.
While he was tied and blind? Perhaps he said a particularly offensive word and I fainted.
Well, I happen to know that the watch consider you a suspect.
Well, don't forget that I know something that they don't. That you're a liar and you can't be trusted.
Just because you can't trust me doesn't mean no one can trust me.
Does the word Azil mean anything to you?
Leave me alone, Luton.
Based upon the real truth, the King of Ankh, Hwell's most boring play. And that includes me, it seems.
I see Sir has returned.
Sir has.
Who would Sir like to see?
Is Carlotta home?
Alas, no. What a shame that Sir's trip has been wasted. Perhaps Sir would like to leave now.
Tell her I called by.
Why, my loins stir at the very thought of serving you in this way, sir.
Is the Count receiving guests?
No, but he will see you.
Ah, Luton. I was hoping you would drop by?
You don't sound so good, Count.
I am not the man I used to be, that is certain. Past my prime, you might say. Yes, past my prime.
I could come back later if you want.
No, there is no guarantee that I will be getting any better. If anything, I might be worse.
Your health?
We are both men of the world, Mr. Luton. I will not mince words with you. I am dying. I might last another year or so, or I might not last the week. And to think I thought more pork would be good for my health.
Not too many people would believe you, certainly.
Let us dispense with the pleasantries and get straight to business. Yes, straight to business.
Do you know anything about the murder of a man named Mundy?
Mr. Luton, I couldn't be less interested in the petty crimes of this wretched city.
Does the word Azil mean anything to you?
Yes, I remember Azil. Azil, the mad Ascari of the great Nef. He rose to power before even the light dams of Sorka were completed. I remember he used to punish his detractors by burying them upside down in the sand. Do you know, I think he honestly believed they might grow into trees. He was quite mad, you know. Quite mad.
How long ago was this?
Oh, I don't know. A couple of 100 years ago, at least.
You seem to remember it like yesterday.
I am an old man. My memory plays tricks.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to try that again. I suppose I could have attached the grapple to the railings and rappelled down to the River Ankh, but that was a dangerous way of searching the river. I had a feeling there was a better way to use the grapple to search the river.